What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 447 here today of #AskGSM for Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. We got a busy week ahead with Forbidden Door on Sunday. We got an interview dropping next Tuesday here on the channel with all-new WWE Hall of Famer. You probably have heard of him, The Undertaker, coming back here to the channel to talk all about WWE biography, WWE Legends, the second season dropping on A&E this summer. So, just recorded that yesterday. Taker was great again. That will be dropping in video form here on the channel on Tuesday, in addition to an article form over on Bleacher Report that same day. And very likely another interview coming before Money in the Bank late next week as well. So, keep an eye out for that. But today we're answering your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to send in a question to the show for me to answer, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. So we'll get right into it here, starting with Micah Does It from YouTube. Their first question was, why are we getting Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar again when the feud ended at WrestleMania? The main event we should have gotten at SummerSlam should have been Roman Reigns, Brock, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley in a fatal four-way match. So that was his suggestion. As cool as that sounds on paper, I'm going to disagree with you there as well. I don't think we should have gotten any more interaction between Roman and Brock for the remainder of forever. I really do truly believe that the feud should have ended at WrestleMania and should have never been revisited ever again. We have seen this match now in 2015. They interacted in a multi-man match in 2016. They had another multi-man match in 2017. The whole series of matches in 2018. They feuded in 2021 and now 2022. I am so fucking done with Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. It's ridiculous. I am so beyond done with this feud. The match at WrestleMania wasn't even all that good. Maybe this will be better. I'm really hoping there's some sort of caveat with Rollins probably winning the men's Money in the Bank briefcase, cashing in. I don't want to say halfway through, because one, that would be way too predictable. It's way too on the nose at this point. But not only that, I would rather see the full-on triple threat with Rollins, Roman, and Brock. Because we didn't get a formal triple threat at WrestleMania 31. Rollins cashed in within like 90 seconds of the match ending, and it went all up for like a minute or two before Rollins won the match, which was one of the greatest endings in WrestleMania history, and probably my favorite ending in WrestleMania history. But I've always thought, what if we got an actual triple threat with those three? We talked about it here before, earlier on in the year. What if they did it at WrestleMania? They didn't. They kept Rollins out of the match. He faced Cody Rhodes instead. That was a fantastic match. Far better than what we got in the main event of WrestleMania Night 2 with Brock and Roman. It wasn't a bad match. I actually enjoyed that match more than the WrestleMania 34 match, which was not good at all. That was boring as fuck. Roman being the heel, Brock being the babyface added a fresh dynamic to it. But again, that's also been run into the ground from SummerSlam last year. So I'm so beyond done with this shit. I don't know why they're doing it again, aside from the fact that they need stars right now. And, Randy Orton went down with an injury. Reportedly, that was the original plan, to do Roman and Randy at SummerSlam. Randy apparently is going to be out injured for a while with this back injury that Riddle's talked about. And I think Riddle hinted at Orton having an operation for coming up soon, if not already, which is a real shame. So you would think they would go with someone that you mentioned, like a Drew. I mean, I know they're saving Drew and Roman very likely for Clash of the Castle. Drew did call out Roman for Clash of the Castle to challenge for that championship. The thing is, I don't think he ever said Roman Reigns' name. He could still challenge for the championship, and Roman's just not champion. I don't know how much sense that makes. I mean, I don't know how they're going to determine this, but could you have Brock win the WWE title at SummerSlam and have Drew win the Universal Championship at Clash of the Castle? I wouldn't even do that. I mean, I would rather the championships be broken up at this point if Roman's not going to be on the show. It's a double-edged sword. We've talked about this before here on the show. I'm not going to go into a great rant about it, this deep dive rant, a full-fledged rant here. But the idea of one champion I don't like, but with the roster depth being what it is, it's probably not the worst idea. The worst idea is putting your top title, a unified championship, on a guy that's never fucking here. And Brock would also never be fucking here. I know he was on TV almost every week from August through WrestleMania. from SummerSlam through WrestleMania, and that was great. I don't think that's happening again. If he were to win the championship at SummerSlam, I do not see him popping up again and defending it maybe Clash of the Castle and drop the championship to Drew. But Drew already beat Brock at WrestleMania, whatever it was, 36, in the Performance Center. That's a match I wouldn't mind seeing again with a full-fledged crowd in attendance. That'd be great. But if Drew's winning again, then what's the point? And if Brock wins, why would you do that? So, I don't know, man. It's a whole fucking mess right now. I really have no desire to see the match again. It was one of those things last Friday where it was like, oh, Brock's back. That's so cool. Then it's like, oh, wait, no, he's confronting Roman Reigns. Not this shit again. Not this shit again. And I'm just like, I'm so tired of it. I'm so beyond done with this feud. I'm ready just to move on. Next question comes from Justin K. from Facebook. Do you think that Impact Wrestling has dropped the ball on the booking of Honor No More? They have lost key matches in recent weeks, and I am feeling that this could be a lost faction. No, I think so far so good, honestly. I've actually really enjoyed the Honor No More stuff since it started at Hard to Kill back in January. It's only been around for 5 months. It's not Nexus levels of bad where within 2 months they lost their biggest match to date to John fucking Cena, which was so dumb. One of the dumbest booking decisions in the last 10, 15 years of WWE. I mean, that happened 12 years ago. So in the last 15 years of WWE's history, one of the dumber booking decisions they've made. And John Cena, shame on him for allowing that and going through with that and not thinking it was a dumb idea beforehand. But anyway, no, I think Honor No More so far has been fine. I know they lost at Slammiversary. You said that was a key match. I assume you're alluding to that. But listen, it was the 20-year anniversary of TNA. The way that it was done was well done. They had interference, the ref bumps, all this wild, unnecessary shit. But it was supposed to be a spectacle. The crowd was into it. I was into it. They had Earl Hebner out there. You had Davey Richards as the mystery fifth final man and all this other sort of stuff. So I didn't really mind it. I thought the way that it went down was exactly how it should have gone down and probably even better. I'm not really sure what other key matches they've lost, though. I know Eddie Edwards was supposed to face Jonathan Gresham for the Ring of Honor World Championship at Rebellion, but Gresham pulled out of that match, and we never ended up getting it. I don't think Gresham's coming back, which was really weird. So that, and then I think they beat Bullet Club on Under Siege. I know they had a multi-man match before that on TV that Bullet Club may have won. I'm pretty sure Honor No More won the match on pay-per-view, though, or on the live special, or whatever it was, that Under Siege show in early May. So I think they won that. I know they failed to win the tag team titles at Rebellion, but that's not exactly a key match. Their first big match at the February show, I think it wasn't Against All Odds. Whatever that February show was, they won that match to earn the right to stay in Impact. And then whatever the March show was, I don't remember what they did there. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think so far they've handled the group well. I am curious if that was it for the group, though, because they did lose on Sunday, as they should have. But do they rebound? And I've been looking forward to a Josh Alexander-Eddie Edwards feud, because Eddie Edwards' motivation for turning heel this entire time has been, I wasn't given the opportunity against Kenny to win back the Impact World Championship last year. You know who did get that opportunity? Josh Alexander. And Josh Alexander is the current Impact World Champion. So I'm not sure why you wouldn't go to that. And it's a match we've never seen before, I don't think. It's a feud they've never done before. And I think it'd be great. So maybe that's the Bound for Glory main event. Eddie Edwards being in chase mode would be weird, though. And we've already seen him as world champion twice before. So maybe Josh beats him to retain. I don't know. But yeah, so we'll see where they go from here with the group. I don't exactly know. I don't want to see it end, because so far I've really enjoyed the group and the matches and the chemistry they have. I wouldn't mind, though, because I thought it was weird. Of all 5 men in that match, it was PCO who got pinned, who they typically tend to protect. I mean, the guy just beat Jonah in a Monsters Ball match, I think it was, on TV not too long ago. So maybe they kick him out of the group and either replace him or just have a 5-man group. They have Maria as well, so it's currently 7 people. They could kick PCO out and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. He's better off as a babyface anyway. So maybe that's the next step as soon as Thursday's show. Who knows? But I hope that's not it for the group, because so far from what I've seen, I've liked it. They've booked them largely well. They have been on the back burner a little bit with the, Josh Alexander stuff taking center stage, and rightfully so, among other storylines. They haven't been as prominently featured in recent weeks as they were a few months ago, but I still think they can rebound with a big win on their next big show, whether it be Against All Odds or whatever, and they can get back on the right track. His next question, with Ring of Honor in the works for a return in the future, what are 3 guys you would like to see signed to the roster who are not under contract with AEW, New Japan, or WWE? I mean, WWE, it sounds like you're saying anyone to join Ring of Honor. The way I interpreted your question was people that were formerly in Ring of Honor before it went under. People that were there, like a Brody King or a Danhausen, Jay Lethal, all obviously went to AEW. Roosh. I thought you were talking about those people. It sounds like you were just talking about free agents in general. I wrote down more than 3 here. You said anyone not under contract to AEW, New Japan, or WWE. The only former Ring of Honor talent that WWE signed was Roxy, the former Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. Now known, obviously, as Roxanne Perez, and she's doing very well for herself there. Other than that, no one's gone to WWE. I don't know how many people that were in Ring of Honor went to Japan. A lot of those people, a few of them went to AEW. People like, as I mentioned, Danhausen, Brody King, Jay Lethal, Roosh now, among others. The Briscoes are now in Impact. They actually just lost the Impact World Tag Team titles. The thing with the Briscoes is, the report was a couple of months ago, there's someone in Warner Media that is not a fan of the Briscoes, didn't like the fact that Jay said that stupid shit years ago, which he has since apologized for, which I understand why they wouldn't. I get it and I don't get it. I mentioned this before, but yeah, they were, I don't want to say canceled. This was almost 10 years ago. It was a decade ago. Whether they feel, I would hope they don't still feel that way, 10 years later having kids and whatnot. But Jay has apologized multiple times for it. They've kept clean since then. I don't see the big deal in bringing in the Briscoes. It's not like they have a felony against them as far as I know, like a Moose, for example, who, was arrested, I think, for domestic abuse, but there's a whole story behind that for why I'm not saying it's okay, but there is a whole other can of worms there with Moose. I could see maybe why they wouldn't want to touch him, although, again, there have been allegations. The Briscoes thing wasn't an allegation. It was an outright stupid thing that he said. Jay Lethal had allegations, too, which they have yet to address, and they signed him, and he's on TV a lot now. So, that sort of stuff, it doesn't exactly seem to bother AEW from what it looks like. But anyway, they're not going to sign Tessa Blanchard or Marty Scurll. They're smarter than that, but Jay Lethal's a great talent, but listen, so is Marty Scurll. And Marty Scurll came out and admitted to it. I don't know if Jay Lethal actually admitted to anything or if anything actually happened, but there's been enough, complaints from people saying that he has done stuff. But again, that's a whole other story for a different day. My bottom line is the Briscoes are a great tag team, and they've kept clean in the last 10 years for the most part. They're in Impact right now. They had a very brief reign as World Tag Team Champions, a good match on Sunday with the Good Brothers. I don't know if that's it for them in Impact or not. They could be building to a third match between them and the Good Brothers where they're going to beat the Good Brothers and win the tag team titles back. I don't know what would be accomplished from that or why you would drag out the feud longer than you would need to, because the match wasn't amazing. It was a good match, but nothing phenomenal, I don't know where they're going with that. It could have very well been a short deal. And I don't think AEW would bring in the Briscoes even to be a part of Ring of Honor, because they still own the company, and they wouldn't be on AEW TV, which is a shame. But Ring of Honor is still a subsidiary of AEW. I don't know if they would bring them in for that. I would put them in Ring of Honor. That's just me, but I don't think they're going to do that. I would put the Briscoes there. Dalton Castle has nowhere to go right now. I don't think WWE's picking him up. He would have been a good fit there years ago, but he missed his chance. I don't see it happening. He would get lost in the regular AEW roster by far, but him in the Ring of Honor, like a revamped Ring of Honor in AEW, that would be cool. Bandito is a tremendous talent, another former Ring of Honor world champion. He would be great there. He's not doing much right now. I know I just saw him in MLW recently, but he might be just doing AAA stuff right now or CMLL. I think it's AAA. I don't remember, but yeah, he could also work with his brother Root. Or no, that's not Bandito. That's Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee would be another one I would bring in. Dragon Lee, Bandito, since Roosh is already in AEW. I would bring in Dragon Lee to Roosh and Andrade's group and have them be like a trio. I think that'd be awesome. Them as like the trios champions when they introduce those titles, that'd be fucking sexy as hell. But Bandito would be another good pickup. Josh Woods. Again, if you watch Ring of Honor, you would remember him, but he was in WWE's developmental system years ago. They let him go, and he's had a really good run in Ring of Honor in the last couple of years. A former pure champion before he dropped the belt recently to Wheeler Yuta at Supercard of Honor. He's a standout. He's someone that they should definitely sign to their revamped Ring of Honor. Jonathan Gresham's a given. I heard a while ago that they signed him, and that was around the time that he defended the championship on that Battle of the Belt show against Dalton Castle. But we haven't seen Gresham in anything AEW related since. We've seen the Ring of Honor TV Championship defended. We've seen the tag team titles defended. The Pure Championship on Dark is going to be defended next week. Hell, even the fucking Women's Championship was defended recently when Mercedes Martinez beat Deonna Purrazzo for it in the main event of the show. But we haven't seen the World Champion. That's a little weird to me. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on with Gresham. But he's a tremendous talent. He'd be a great pickup for them and as one of the faces of that Ring of Honor. As far as free agents that could go there that aren't currently signed anywhere else, Cesaro to me would make the most sense. I mean, Joe making appearances in Ring of Honor as well would make sense, but he's already in AEW. Cesaro has yet to go back to WWE. I get the feeling he will be back in WWE at some point. I feel like if he was going to AEW, he probably would have shown up there by now. It's been 4 months since he became a free agent. But I think him in Ring of Honor would be awesome. Him is like one of the faces of that promotion, hopefully winning that world championship. How much does that really mean at this point? That's up for debate. But they got to get a fucking show going and he can debut on that show. So Cesaro would be perfect. Other than Cesaro, I can't think of many other free agents. Tyler Breeze, yeah, maybe. Roderick Strong going back there, if and when he leaves WWE, would be awesome. I think that would make a lot of sense. Jonah's in New Japan right now, but he would be a good pickup for a Ring of Honor under the umbrella of AEW, now that I think about it. And probably not even other people, because you mentioned people that aren't in AEW, but I've mentioned before, there's a lot of people in AEW, someone like a Brian Cage, who came back at Supercard of Honor, but we haven't seen him since. He'd be a good fit for Ring of Honor as well. So we'll have to see what they have in store for the promotion when it relaunches, hopefully soon. At Reborn again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Check out his YouTube show as well. Real Honesty with John Ritland does great work. John's first question was, so Bruce Pritchard is now the head of talent relations while Johnny Ace is on quote-unquote administrative leave. In other words, they basically changed one Vince Yes Man for another, so can anything possibly change? The answer is no. The answer is no, nothing is going to change. But that's the thing, though. They don't want anything to change. Vince is very likely, and I'll get to this in a second because this had to do with your second question, Vince is not taking any of this seriously. He's not. And I'm not saying it won't amount to anything else beyond what we've seen so far. There's a good chance it very well could. You know, the report came out like a week or a day or two ago that multiple law firms are investigating or are part of this investigation. I think maybe 5 or something like that. So they're really digging deep to find out what these NDAs are about, and thankfully so. I mean, it's really sketchy shit. The fact that he had an affair isn't ideal. It's a little weird. That's not really why he's in trouble. I thought that might have been it. There's more details that have become clear in the last couple of days. It's more so due to the fact they kind of gave the woman a hush money payment, and that there's more hush money payments out there. What could those NDAs have to do with? And just because that relationship with this one particular woman appeared to be consensual from what we know right now, that doesn't mean the other ones are also consensual. There could have been more to those relationships or affairs than what we currently know. If those are even affairs, we don't know. So I hope we find out soon and what's going on here and whatever, as far as Vince's involvement and Johnny Ace's involvement. So anyway, I don't think Vince is taking any of this seriously, which is why they're not doing any drastic changes. Stephanie McMahon being the interim chairman, or chairwoman rather, of WWE and the CEO and whatever, doesn't change anything. It's merely a title on paper. Vince is practically still running the show. He was on fucking Raw again this week, as if nothing even happened. And the only difference was that they did not announce him as the chairman of WWE. That was it. Other than that, it was business as usual for Vince. He's still at the shows. He's still running the shows creatively. So the latest report being that Johnny Ace has been temporarily replaced by Bruce Pritchard changes nothing. And even if that turns out to be permanent, which honestly there's a good chance it will, because if anyone's taken the fall for this, it will be Johnny Ace. He's only been back in the role of the head of talent relations for about a year now, since they fired Mark Carano back in April of 2021. Nothing of value will be lost in lieu of that famous meme that you use, John, on Twitter. That GIF, which I fucking love, by the way. Nothing of value will be lost if they fire Johnny Ace from that position of power in that company. The only thing that will change is the name, because nothing of true value will change with Bruce Pritchard in charge. It's going to be the same shit, another Vince yes man, as you said. With Stephanie in charge now of the company, again, nothing will change. So anyone expecting immediate change in this company will not get it unless there's a massive overhaul of management at the top of this company, specifically John Laurinaitis, Bruce Pritchard, and Vince. And Nick Khan probably as well, but he's not going anywhere. The first three names are probably, I don't work there, but it seems like they're as big of a part of the problem of this company behind the scenes as anything, and nothing will change until they're gone. And Bruce could probably be gone. He's been let go before. He's left before. Johnny Ace as well. Vince, I don't think is going anywhere unless some real serious shit comes out. And even though he stepped down, again, it doesn't mean anything. So going on to your second question was, could all of this Vince stuff lead to a quicker sale just so the McMahon family can avoid any extra egg on their face, so to speak? I don't think it will. That's a great question and a great, not an idea. It's an idea, but like, what if it could? I didn't really even think about that. Could this lead to a quicker sale of the company to kind of get their name out of the mud, so to speak? I don't think it will. Not saying it won't, and that is a good proposition. There is a chance that could happen. But again, going back to what I just said, it doesn't look like at all. Not even it doesn't look like. Vince McMahon is not taking this shit seriously at all. Based on the reports of what we've heard so far, the way he responded to the controversy, the way that he appeared on TV, they fucking promoted it in advance. Granted, they didn't advertise his appearance for Raw, but that was also a massive fucking waste of time. Even though it was all of 60 seconds, it was 60 seconds of my life that I'm not getting back. The fucking gall on this guy, and I'm not surprised. He's gone through far worse and has survived a lot in the last 20 years. As other people have said, specifically Solomonster had a great breakdown of the whole situation. This is the most jeopardy that Vince McMahon has probably ever been in. I still don't see it changing anything. I said this last week. I don't think, obviously more is bound to come out about this. I don't think Vince is losing power in that company. Even if he was replaced full-time by Stephanie, he's still going to be a part of the company. Unless they get him out completely, out of creative and every facet of that company, he is not going anywhere. And nothing will change. So they're not even going to contemplate a sale. If Vince was found to be a fucking sex pest or something, which I have no doubt that he probably is, even at 70-something, which is fucking disgusting, that's not getting talked about enough either. Maybe that's for the best, because the visual of that is just awful. I don't want to have to burn my brain after thinking about that, but Vince with anyone under the age of Vince with anyone at this point is disgusting, but if that woman was in her 40s, even 50s, that's just, and he's 77? Ugh, it's fucking gross. But anyway, so unless Vince is completely canceled, I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I don't think you would contemplate a sale quite yet. If Nick Khan takes over completely, if only temporarily, yeah, there's a chance they could sell. Just because he doesn't want to run it, he would rather just make the money off of it and give it to someone else like an NBC or a Fox or whatever. That is very likely if that were to happen, but I just don't see it getting to that point because I see Vince still being in power and in charge. I don't think he's going to take it seriously, and he should, but I think part of the problem is that he always seems to escape from this shit unscathed. From every single scandal and controversy in the last 30 years, he has come out of it the same guy that he was before and has only built his business and his brand bigger than it was previously. John's next question: do you think maybe WWE should stop running shows in cities that traditionally have mostly dead crowds? Some markets just don't add anything to the show, he says. Not mentioning any Lincoln, Nebraska or Corpus Christi, Texas. I mean any city in particular. No, those cities are indeed terrible, specifically Corpus Christi, Texas. My apologies if you live there, but those crowds are almost always awful. Yeah, it just has never made any sense to me why they do those markets, unless they do big attendance numbers every time they're there, which I don't think they do. They don't do big attendance numbers really anywhere at this point, aside from even Chicago and New York and stuff. I don't think the attendance numbers are as great as they once were. Even fucking MSG, the numbers for those shows recently have been fucking terrible, specifically the Christmas one that I was at. Oh my God. I know it was in the midst of COVID, but still, MSG, day after Christmas, oh, they didn't have any stars on the show. They didn't know that. We didn't know that until 2 hours before the show started when I went. They took the top stars off the show like the day of. If you already have your tickets, you're going regardless. But anyway, In Chicago, I'm sure they're not doing super hot there. They're not doing super hot in any market for the most part. I'm not saying that they haven't done good attendance in certain places. I think the MGM or wherever they're going to be for Money in the Bank, they sold out. Granted, it's only like 12,000 tickets compared to 70-something thousand in the major stadium. But still, I mean, that's a significant amount of tickets. That's a good, accomplishment. I'm sure they're going to do well for the Clash of the Castle show in the UK later this year, in the fall, in the month of September. But still, if they're not doing nice attendance numbers there, then just stick to the bigger markets that will have a better crowd. The problem is, my guess is, they don't give a fuck about the crowd reaction. They're not going to not go to Corpus Christi. Oh, they weren't excited tonight. They don't give a fuck about that. If they have your money and there's enough people in the building, they will go back there. They probably have good relationships with the arenas in those cities and stuff like that, I guess. But again, if you've been to that city a few times and the crowd adds nothing, if that's me, I'm thinking, why the fuck are we here? Like, unless the show is just terrible. I mean, listen, the product right now is not great at all. The product is very dull on both Raw and SmackDown, specifically SmackDown. SmackDown most weeks is awful. So if the crowds aren't reacting to that shit, I don't blame them at all. But listen, the Corpus Christi stuff goes back many, 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 many years. Long Island was also not a great crowd for many years as well. I don't know if that's changed or not with the new arena and whatever, but yeah, part of the problem is the product. I would absolutely acknowledge that as well. But some of the enthusiasm from some of these crowds when the shows are actually good is not great, and they should not go back there. That would be me. I would think to myself, listen, if that crowd sucked, I'm not going back there. Unless, I would give them another chance, but if it's like 2 or 3 shows, the shows are largely well received by people online or ratings or whatever, and the crowds in attendance aren't excited, and they're just not hot for anything, then at that point I would say, we're not going back here. This is a waste. Just call it quits and not go back to that city, regardless of how much money they made. But again, I don't think, even if they were making all this money, I still wouldn't go back there. But it doesn't sound like they are anyway. So if they're not doing great attendance numbers in these cities, then why even bother going back? His next question? I know we're done with John's questions. At Iwagu91, their first question. Do you think that this is his time, or do you think his time on NXT, rather, especially during the Undisputed Era, is thus far the best of Adam Cole's career? Yeah, I would say so. I've followed most of Adam Cole's career. I wasn't there watching his early stuff in Ring of Honor in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But I've been watching Adam Cole since 2014. I caught the last 3 years of his Ring of Honor run, watched obviously his entire NXT run for the 4 years he was there, and I followed the entire AEW run so far. He's only been in AEW for like 8-9 months at this point. The WWE stuff was still my favorite Adam Cole. Like, the Ring of Honor run was great. I mean, there he was a former 3-time Ring of Honor World Champion. He joined Bullet Club for a year, had great matches, cut great promos. He was an absolute star even then. But to me, with the platform of WWE and NXT being at its peak for the time that he was there, that to me was really prime Adam Cole. Not to say his career peaked at that point and that he'll never get back to being as hot as he was then, because he's doing great work now. And I've said before, I defended his AEW run. I've enjoyed his AEW run for the most part. The physique shit doesn't really bother me. It's not like the guy's 500 pounds. I mean, let's focus on why Adam Cole specifically? I mean, maybe he did lose muscle mass between NXT and AEW. Maybe his physique could be better, but I see far worse people with far worse physiques on these shows that have no business being on the fucking show. If the guy can work and the guy can talk, who gives a fuck? People are spending way too much time worrying about Adam Cole's physique. But the guy himself is a tremendous talent in many ways. And to me, his best work came in NXT. They booked him practically perfectly, and he still left because he saw where things were headed. And he would probably be fired by now anyway if he stayed. If he stayed on the main roster and became a manager and got the Butch treatment, he'd probably be let go by now. Yeah, but he was booked like a star there, NXT champion, longest reigning ever, North American champion, tag team champion, all this other stuff. Like, the Undisputed Era run was amazing, and the Undisputed Era stuff lasted pretty much his entire run except for the last 6 months when he broke up the group in early 2021. He was on his own for the next 6 months after that, and it wasn't the best Adam Cole. And I think Adam Cole has always done better in groups, whether it be Bullet Club or the Elite now, or with the Bucks or with Undisputed Era. He's done better in factions. I still prefer Undisputed Era over the Elite, but we have the Undisputed Era technically in AEW now as well, and he works well with them. But in NXT, again, he was consistently main eventing takeovers, had some of the best matches in the history not only of his career, but in the history of that brand with Johnny Gargano in 2019. Some of the matches in 2018 were great too, with Aleister Black and with Ricochet, that amazing ladder match at TakeOver New Orleans. His character work was great, his promos were great, he was carrying NXT for a very long time, even into the USA Network era for the 2 years that he was there, and they were on USA, he was practically the face of that show. When Velveteen Dream got canceled, Johnny Gargano kind of fell on the card, Ciampa would get hurt, Cole was there the entire fucking time. Headlining shows, doing tours, getting the best reactions out of anyone, having the best matches, cutting the best promos. So again, I'm enjoying Adam Cole right now in AEW. It does feel like he's a small fish in a bigger pond. But again, he's still headlined pay-per-views. Like, he headlined Revolution. He won the Owen Hart Cup or whatever it was at Double or Nothing. He main evented, or he debuted right after the All Out pay-per-view, or at the end of that pay-per-view, and that was an amazing moment. So he's had a great run so far for the most part, but I don't know, maybe it was just the vibe of NXT at that point, or just the fact he was the guy or whatever, but man, he was killing it. So to me, the best Adam Cole so far was NXT Adam Cole. Specifically, I would say probably 2018, 2019 was like best Adam Cole. By 2020, he was still champion for the first 6 months of the year. The reign got a little stale there towards the end, especially without crowds, too. It just wasn't the same without crowds. But he was still doing great work even then. But, yeah, that to me was the best Adam Cole, 2018, 2019 Adam Cole. His next question, let's see here. Do you think Wardlow will be the one to revitalize the TNT Championship if he wins it from Scorpio Sky? I hope. I'm not saying he will be the one to take that championship back to new heights, but I think he could be. If I was booking it, I like Scorpio Sky. His reigns have been completely fucking forgettable. I would just have Wardlow squash him for it in 3 minutes. I mean, if the guy beat MJF, and I know MJF isn't on the greatest terms with this company with what's happened in the last couple of months, but if he can beat MJF in 5 minutes, what is stopping him from beating Scorpio Sky practically immediately? I know they had a competitive match a few months ago, but this is a different Wardlow. Wardlow is on a whole new level at this point. And I know that was, again, 3 months ago, but Wardlow is a far bigger star now, even than he was in March. So have him squash Scorpio, take that championship, and have him go on a Goldberg-esque reign like Goldberg did as U.S. champion back in the 90s. That's what I would do. I mean, Scorpio's doing nothing for that title. He doesn't have to defend it every week, but he can go in there and have entertaining matches on a near-weekly basis with many members of the roster. Heel, babyface, whatever. And I think it'd be a cool dynamic, and he can use that to kind of build himself back up to the main event scene. So that's what I would do. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he would be the one to revitalize the TNT title and make it shit, or make it not shit again. I don't know if the championship would mean that much more around Wardlow's waist than it would Scorpio's, but it would it would mean more. How much more, I don't know. It's really more a matter of how they book him as champion. But I don't see it getting much worse than Scorpio as champion. Getting much worse than that. At this point, again, I like Scorpio, but the booking's been bad. He really hasn't defended it a whole lot. Just move the fuck on. So I would give it to Wardlow, and it certainly would be more prominent in his possession. Whether he would actually defend it and be a good fighting champion and be on the show more, who knows? But it's worth a shot, because with what they're doing right now with Scorpio, I could not care possibly any less than I do at the moment. At noob_n_co 1991 from Twitter, their first question was, your thoughts on Sasha Banks being quote-unquote released from WWE, and where do you think she goes next, Hollywood or AEW? I would rather see her in Hollywood than go to AEW, because fans will hate to see her on Dark and Dark Elevation. Listen, I like Toni Storm, I like Ruby Soho. Sasha Banks, regardless of what you think about her, and I'm not the biggest Sasha Banks fan as a person. I mean, I've interviewed her, she's a perfectly nice person. I don't know her personally. I'm not friends with her. I'm not co-workers with her. I can't really speak to this entirely. But just the way she carries herself sometimes, she does act like her shit doesn't stink. And I'm not a big fan of Sasha Banks in that respect. But there's no denying, in the ring, she is one of, if not the best women's performer in the world. Definitely in the United States. And AEW would be dumb to not at least attempt to reach out to her, because they should. The thing is, though, is that she's a far bigger star. I mean, you don't see Britt Baker in fucking Dark at this point. Britt Baker is not the star that Sasha Banks is. Again, you don't have to like Sasha Banks to agree with me that she is a big star. She sells a lot of merch. She has her legions of fans. I'm not saying she's the biggest actor. She would even be the greatest actor. We don't know. She was in Star Wars for all of 2 fucking episodes in The Mandalorian. Great for her. But it's not like she did this amazing job to where it's, I think she's going to have this amazing career in Hollywood. Who knows? But she does have more notoriety in the mainstream than Britt Baker does, or really anyone else in AEW, including the WWE castoffs. If Britt Baker's not on fucking Dark, for the most part, then, because she has been in the past, but not regularly, then Sasha Banks should not be either. You do not see Chris Jericho wrestling on Dark. You do not see, for the most part, Jon Moxley wrestling on Dark. You do not see Adam Page, for the most part, wrestling on Dark. Because they shouldn't be. They're far bigger than that shit. Than a fucking YouTube show that a couple 100,000 people watch, sure, but it's not Dynamite and it's not Rampage. So, I would absolutely not do that. But going off of that point, the way they book their women currently, and I'm looking forward to Rosa and Toni Storm at Forbidden Door this Sunday, but their women's division is, listen, say what you will about WWE's women's division, but it feels like their women are more prominent on the show than AEW's. I mean, they're not even feel like it. They are. They're just on the show more. They have more women. They have some better women's performers and bigger stars and whatnot. And it takes time to build those stars, but it just doesn't feel like the women's division to AEW is that big of a priority. They have all of one fucking women's feud. And maybe they have more on Dark. I mean, I watched Dark and Elevation, but what, Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez teasing a tag team? Who cares? For what? I'd rather see them just go one-on-one at this point than drag things out for 12 months. A lot of the women's feuds in AEW just have not been entertaining. Some of the ones that were good, like Hikaru Shida and Serena Deeb, went on for way too fucking long. So, listen, Sasha Banks going to AEW, again, they would be fools. Tony Khan would be a fool to at least not attempt to reach out to Sasha Banks. Whether she should sign, though, is the question. If she had all this issue with WWE about the tag team titles not being portrayed properly and the women not getting the respect they deserve, which I agree with, why the fuck do you think going to AEW would change anything? Looking at their women's division and the way they book their women, they don't even have a women's tag team division, nor should they. Because the way they represent their women and portray them and, they're perceived, the division itself, not the women, they're not having bad matches for the most part. I mean, some matches are pretty bad, but still, it's just not on the level of WWE's. Why would you downgrade in that respect? Toni Storm's a different story. Toni Storm's a great talent. But she's not the star that Sasha Banks is. Ruby Soho, same thing. They fit the vibe of AEW perfectly because they've gotten championship opportunities. They've had some good matches. Sasha Banks is bigger than that, though. She's beyond that point of having to build that division. The division should already be at a point where it's important enough for her to go there. And I would say the same thing if Becky left WWE or Charlotte or even Bayley. Or Asuka, meh. I mean, Asuka feels bigger than AEW's women's division, but she's also not on the level of the other women I just mentioned. Regardless, I don't think she should go to AEW. I mean, if people like Bray Wyatt are taking time away, Cesaro among other people, and not immediately jumping in the competition, I think she should do the same thing. I think she should at least try her hand in acting. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But she has enough other stuff going for her that she doesn't need to immediately go to AEW. Could she? Sure. But it sounds like she has other projects and she has other stuff that she's interested in. She may never wrestle again, which I would highly doubt. But I'm sure she could go there eventually. If she were to be released tomorrow, she is indeed gone, and she has the standard 90 days or whatever. Could she go there and make a big splash? Sure. Should she? For what, a one-off match with Thunder Rosa? That they would make out to be a big deal? Would that be headlining a pay-per-view? Would that be headlining a Dynamite? Probably not, because they just... I say they, but Tony Khan specifically, to me, does not strike me as the type of person that is this major women's wrestling enthusiast. They have a lot of great women, female talent on their show just because he'd be a fucking idiot not to sign them. But the way he uses them is questionable. And Sasha Banks is a bigger star than whatever they're subjecting their other women to right now. Having Sasha come out on the stage for, 10 seconds? I mean, listen, it wouldn't be that much worse than what they were doing with her in WWE towards the end, which they were booking her well, but the woman almost never got mic time towards the end there. The tag titles mean nothing. Who gives a fuck? I would not have her go to AEW immediately. I would rather see her try her hand in Hollywood and in acting and other stuff relating to that sort of stuff. Continue to build her brand outside of WWE. And if she's feeling the itch to wrestle again, then go to AEW and try it out. I would not sign for 3 to 5 years, because if it doesn't work out, she's going to fucking whine about that and want to leave there too. So maybe a short-term thing or a one-off match or whatever would be pretty cool. Time will tell, though. His third question, with Taya Valkyrie appearing in Impact, MLW, NWA, and AAA, and now hinting that she could be teaming with the Lucha Bros and calling out Thunder Rosa at Triple Mania over the weekend, will Taya Valkyrie be all elite? I don't think so. I feel like if Tony Khan... I was going to say, if Tony Khan wanted her, he would probably have signed her by now, but then again, Athena, she was a free agent for months before Tony Khan finally signed her. And signed her to... She was last in WWE November. I think she had a 90-day non-compete. It could have been 60 days. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was 90, though. And she became a free agent in February. They didn't bring her in until late May. So it is possible that, Taya Valkyrie's also been a free agent since February. They could bring her in at some point. I think it's more likely they bring her in for a one-off, and they don't sign her. Which I think is a shame. Taya Valkyrie is great. Like you said, she's in the NWA right now. Impact, she just won the tag team titles. MLW, she just became the inaugural women's champion over there. And AAA, she's the women's champion there too. She's holding a lot of gold right now, which is great. I don't see her going to AEW. I could see her doing a one-off. But again, it goes back to what I just said about the women's division. They have a lot of talented women, but if you bring in Taya Valkyrie right now, what do you do with her? I said previously, bring in Athena because I think her and Jade Cargill makes the most sense. That's what they're doing, and that's great. I don't see any plan for Taya Valkyrie unless they were to have her feud with Thunder. I mean, her and Jade would be cool because Taya would be more on her level as far as her size and whatever. I don't see them doing that, though. I don't know. They brought in Johnny Elite, John Morrison, for a one-off. Taya Valkyrie could do the same thing. But it sounds like she's just better off doing the other promotions and being a bigger star over there. Because in an AEW, she'd probably get lost in the shuffle pretty quickly, I'd have to imagine. His next question, with Forbidden Door this Sunday, do you think the show will succeed or will it be a disaster? There's no Naito, no Toriano, no Himuro Takahashi. I forget how you pronounce his name, I apologize. No Evil, and of course, no Okada. How does AEW fail in promoting a show that features New Japan talent and no top stars out of Tanahashi and Ospreay are on the card? I mean, how could you forget about fucking Jay White? I mean, Jay White's their world champion. He's going to be on the show. I would have to imagine. I mean, he's not announced for a match as of right now, but I'm sure we'll find out tonight. He was on Dynamite last week. He was kind of hinting that he will be defending the championship on that show. He just didn't announce an opponent yet. So, yeah. Jay White will be on the show. But, yeah, no, Naito is weird. Toriano would be cool. He is entertaining. It's not imperative he's on the show. Honestly, I think Toriano and Orange Cassidy on their pre-show, for example, on the Bind would have been funny as fuck. But whatever. Or Toriano and Danhausen, for example. Hiromu Takahashi. That's how you pronounce his name. Hiromu Takahashi. He's fantastic. I would love for him to be on the card, even if it was a multi-man match for the Junior Heavyweight Championship or whatever they call it over there, the Openweight title, which I think is currently held by, isn't that Carl Anderson's championship? I don't know. But yeah, no Okada really bothers me. I'm hoping we'll see him tonight or they'll announce him for a match of the show tonight. If they don't, that's pretty fucked. I mean, to not have, and again, for other circumstances, I get it. But if Okada can be there and he just either doesn't want to or whatever, I mean, at a time where they are not going to have Punk on the card, we'll find out about Bryan Danielson tonight. But no Punk, maybe no Bryan, no Kenny from what it looks like. I mean, that's a pretty big fucking blow. No Ibushi. They need Okada on the show. I would be very disappointed if they did not have him. I'm glad we get Ospreay on the show. Ospreay's amazing. Tanahashi is great. They should have Naito. Naito and Andrade would have been cool, but Andrade's not even going to be on the show, as we found out last week. That's another big name that will not be there. Lucha Bros, I think, will not be there either due to the drama with CMLL and AAA and whatever, which is fucking bullshit, but whatever. Yeah, we'll see. We will soon see what they have in store for those folks. But the hype's been all over the place. I am looking forward to Forbidden Door. I'll get into more of this later as far as the pay-per-view. But they're having certain people show up, and they're announcing matches at the last minute. Now, I know it was a quick turnaround time from Double or Nothing to now, and they couldn't have done it any later due to the G1 Climax and whatever. I get it. But the circumstances suck, and the build has suffered, and it doesn't feel as big of a deal as it should be. For a big AEW New Japan Super Show that we were all hoping for years, it doesn't feel as big as it should. I'll probably feel different after Dynamite tonight, but so far the build has been a fucking mess. With them not explaining who certain people are and not featuring certain people and other people being hurt and whatever, it sucks. And the build has suffered, but I'm sure the show will still be great regardless. At Kyle Rochelle 19, their question was, I do feel like Rhea Ripley was going to win the Raw Women's Championship. Is Judgment Day over now that Judge is no longer in the group? Now that Edge is no longer in the group, and Rhea is getting hurt, with Rhea getting injured. No, I don't think the group is over. I mean, I know they weren't on Raw this week. I mean, it is a massive red flag they were on main event on Monday, reportedly wrestling the Mysterios. I mean, listen, I know Edge would never be on main event. Let's just put it that way. Balor and Priest being on main event is a real head scratcher. And listen, it gives me more new blood to review and to watch on that show when I watch it every Thursday. I'm one of 5 people who actually still watch main event. But that's not a good sign. If they continue to perform on main event and Rhea Ripley's not there, and listen, it's not their... Rhea getting her is not the company's fault. But if Rhea's not there, and it's only Balor and Priest, and they're just like, oh, fuck it, we don't have Rhea, let's just put them in a main event, that is not good. And it goes back to what I said a few weeks ago, to where they do not see Balor as a big enough star. I think the group could help Balor with him being a heel and whatever. I said that, I like that, I guess. I like Balor being a heel. But we got to be realistic here. This company has never seen Balor as more than just an upper mid-carder. Never. I do not see this push lasting him or taking him back to the main event or winning another world championship. I just don't see it. They've had a main event pay-per-views before. He's gone for the world championship many times before, at least 5 or 6 times in the last couple of years. And he's lost every fucking time because they just do not see him on that level. He's lost to Roman. He's lost to Brock. He's lost to Rollins. He's lost to this guy. He's lost to that guy. They don't see him as a threat. They don't give a fuck about Finn Balor. So, they like him enough to put him in a mid-card spot, but that group is not a mid-card group. They're better than that. So I don't think the group is over. I mean, just because they weren't on Raw and they were on main event instead and Rhea got hurt, we don't know how long Rhea's going to be out for. We don't even know what she was hurt with, I don't think, as of now. So if they're not on TV for a month, then I would say, listen, just pack it up and end it. Why the fuck did they even boot Edge in the first place? They really shouldn't have done that. People were like, oh, this is a great idea. I love it. Edge wasn't working in the role and Balor will be so much better. Wipe the fucking egg off your face and admit it was a mistake, because it was stupid. The whole thing didn't make sense, and it was Edge's baby. Regardless of whether you thought he was working as a heel or not, the group itself was fucking cool. It was benefiting Damian, it was benefiting Rhea. Rhea got hurt, I get it. But if Rhea's not in the group for right now, Edge would still be on the show with Damian Priest. I guarantee you of that. They would not be on main event. Edge would not be caught dead on main event at this point. If not ever. So let's stop with the whole, it was a great idea with what they did. It fucking wasn't. And I don't think with Rhea even being around, it would be that much better. I don't know if Rhea would have won or not. I'm sure we still will get Rhea and Bianca eventually for the championship. I hope. Maybe even at SummerSlam. I guess time will tell. But Judgment Day, it's not looking good right now. I'm not going to say it's over. I don't want to jump to conclusions quite yet. But the writing might be on the wall based off what happened this past week. With Rhea getting hurt and them being on the main event, not a good sign. It's not, writing them off as damaged goods quite yet, but it's certainly not a positive sign, I'll tell you that much. At E138 from Twitter, what's going to happen this Sunday at Forbidden Door? Again, we'll get into full predictions tomorrow. I'm not going to spoil anything tomorrow on WrestleRant Radio, RJ and myself. But I'm looking forward to the show. Ospreay and Orange Cassidy is kind of a random fucking match. I'm looking forward to it, but Orange Cassidy isn't even on the top 10 list of people I would put up against Ospreay in a show like this. Moxley and Tanahashi, I will give you one prediction. Moxley's walking out champion. That's almost a guarantee. They're not going to want to have Tanahashi miss any shows in Japan unless he's traveling a lot. And AEW should not put their championship on someone who's not going to be around. That defeats the whole purpose of having an interim champion. So, Moxley's winning that championship. Could Omega show up? Honestly, I think that's a very real possibility. I think Okada will show up. Omega could show up as well. Even if he's not cleared yet, I think it would be a missed opportunity to not have Omega show up on a show like this and go face-to-face with Okada, for example. That would be fucking cool. Do I see it happening? I don't know. But let's just say as far as any match predictions go, we'll talk about it tomorrow. I do see Okada showing up. I'd be shocked if he wasn't on the show. And I think it'd be cool if Omega appeared as well to do a little face-off. And to tease for another Super Show or, Wrestle Kingdom or whatever for down the road, that they could have another match and rekindle that rivalry from years ago. That would be awesome. And to do one more match, whether it be here on a Super Show or New Japan or in AEW, that would be cool. Final 2 questions from Matt. Speaking of which, at RJ_Marceau, my brother Mr. Marceau, his first question was, push repackage release, Anna Jay, Ty Conti, and Jamie Hayter. He already knows my answer because he texted me this the other day, and he wants to put me on the spot. again, although I already know my answer, but I would push Ty Conti, repackage... I would push Jamie Hayter, rather, repackage Ty Conti, and release Anna Jay. Now, Anna Jay is good. She's improving, but she's not... I think Ty Conti's better in the ring, honestly. Anna Jay's she's a work in progress, and she has a great presence about her. She's a pretty girl. She's got a good look and whatever. She's young. But I just feel like Ty Conti has a higher ceiling. Anna Jay, I just have not seen a lot of good matches from her at all. And again, she's improving, but Ty Conti's very young too, and she's just a lot better at this point. She has much more experience. So I would stick with Ty Conti by repackaging her, because this stuff with Sammy is just terrible. Put her back on her own. She was better off as a babyface. She was connecting with the crowd. She was interesting. She was a good heel in NXT. I would put her on her own there. Her just being the valet for Sammy Guevara does no one any favors. That is just stupid. So repackage her, get rid of that shit. Push Jamie Hayter, who's great. Break her away from Britt. Maybe, I don't know about turning her babyface, but definitely more of Jamie would be great, and release Anna Jay. Second question, who are some New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers fans should be excited to see at Forbidden Door? Great question. We talked about this over text as well recently, but my answer is to RJR Ospreay, and his match with Dax Harwood last week, quite honestly, was one of my favorite matches on TV all year. That was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that match. So he's seen a little bit of Ospreay. Ospreay's great. Ospreay's one of my favorites from New Japan. It's a shame Ibushi's not on the show. I mean, RJ knows Ibushi from the Cruiserweight Classic, as many of us do as well. Ibushi's awesome. I wish he was on the show. Tanahashi's great. I think you should be excited for him. You don't even have to see him wrestle. I mean, the guy, if you saw him last week on the show, and he's going to be in action tonight on Dynamite, he just screams star. I mean, Tanahashi isn't exactly a young up-and-comer. He's been around the block, but he's very entertaining to watch. So Tanahashi's another one. Okada, I mean, whew. RJ said he hasn't seen Okada yet, which he has. I remember him telling me back in the day that he watched him and Marty Scurll from All In years ago when that happened. And that was an excellent match as well. Okada's another one. He just screams star, man. Okada just, oh my God. The Japanese wrestling stuff isn't exactly for me. New Japan itself isn't exactly for me. But there's certain people that just stand out to me. It's like, well, man, that guy's fucking great. Ospreay's one of those guys. Ibushi is a standout talent, obviously. Okada screams star, Tanahashi screams star, and Jay White screams star. All of those people, they're the obvious answers, but I think fans, if you haven't seen much of their work from any of those guys I just mentioned, you'll be in for a real treat, because they're all fantastic. As far as other people, Ishii's probably qualifying for that Fatal 4-Way All-Atlantic Championship. We've seen a little bit of Ishii in AEW before. He's a hard hitter. He's good. I like him. Takahashi would be great if he was on the show. Takahashi is really, really good. Who else is on the show? Suzuki, RJ, you know. I mean, I think Suzuki's entertaining. His matches are, I mean, not hit or miss, but we haven't really seen all of what he can do in AEW. Although the match with Danielson was amazing, I thought. So Suzuki's on the show. We kind of already know what he's capable of. Kenta, if he was on the show, we would know how good he is. Juice Robinson's good. I don't know if he's going to be in the show. I think he got hurt. Who else is even in New Japan that might be on that show? I guess it's more a matter of who they announce for it. I mean, those are really the top names. Takahashi, El Phantasmo, I think is great from Bullet Club. Gorillas of Destiny I like a lot. I don't know if they'll be on the show. Jeff Cobb is great. I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action. Great O'Khan isn't exactly great, despite the name, ironically enough. But Jeff Cobb is awesome. I'm looking forward to him. Yeah, those are probably the top names. I'm sure there's more I'm not thinking of. Oh, Shingo Takagi is great. I don't know if he's going to be on the show. Naito's good too. Evil, I'm not as big of a fan of. But Shingo Takagi, I've only seen a couple of his matches in the last few years. But from what I've seen, he is fucking awesome. I'm a big Shingo Takagi fan from what I've seen so far. So I hope he's on the show, because he is also very entertaining. And that's going to do it, guys, for today's edition of #AskGSM for Wednesday, June 2nd, 2022, episode 447 here today. Thank you guys for checking out the show as always. I appreciate it. Thank you, as always, as well, for sending in the great questions. If you want to send in a question, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Looking forward to Forbidden Door on Sunday. We'll talk all about it here on #AskGSM next Wednesday and on WrestleRant Radio next Thursday. New episode of WrestleRant Radio dropping tomorrow with the Forbidden Door predictions. And as I mentioned at the start of this show, next Tuesday, my video interview with WWE Hall of Famer The Undertaker dropping here on the channel. It's the second one. We already did one with him earlier this year. It's going to be our second interview talking biography, WWE legends, coming to A&E next month. So look forward to that as well, coming here to the channel on Tuesday. Until then, guys, have an awesome one. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.